whole bunch of us in this room, there's 5 people in this room. And you know what's amazing?
I have
2,
by the way.
Oh, do you have 2 high schoolers?
Yes.
Okay, so you do. Yeah, that's nice. That's good. So for them, it's cool. They're like, I got to sleep in, and I'll just drive to school. You know, I have 2 boys that are going to school at odd hours. So normally the one is going either at 6:55 to the bus stop, or he's being delivered at 7:30, and then the other one goes at 8:15. And so with the radio show and then a meeting at 9:30, I'm finagling this kind of thing. It's being finagled, as they say.
That's a good word.
Really, it is. It's being finagled. You know what I'm going to do today, Andy, is I'm dropping my microphone. I'm going to invite you to lend that microphone to these guys today, because we have 3 of us on the show today. I've got some incredible guests in the studio. Andy Griffin's almost a guest because he's brand new. I've got Chantry Abbott with Guild Mortgage on the air with us, one of our great friends, incredible home mortgage lender. And I've got, well, why don't you introduce yourself, Michelle?
Hey, Michelle Evans with the Larkin Group. Glad to be here. Glad to get here safe and sound in all the slush.
It's kind of slushy out there. You know, it's 33, I think, all night long.
Oh, perfect. 1 degree.
Yeah, I think that's why school didn't get canceled. So the kids can blame 1 degree. Because I think at 32 degrees, you would have had some really extra nasty roads, and it would have been different, right?
Yeah, I was surprised that they were all right. I mean, they're slushy, but it's doable.
Yeah. Chant, what do you got over there? You want to give us
the kids making a snowman, kind of cool.
This is amazing. So, so it's absolutely incredible. We're at the Cherry Creek Studios on North Bluff Street, which is on the west side of Bluff, up on the hill. And those of us watching our live feed, we're on facebook.com/Jeremy Larkin, or we're on YouTube Live, which is youtube.com/GoSt. But from here, we see everything. Like, we see everything. It's a great view. It's incredible. You know what I mean? It's amazing. So we're looking at Bluff Street Park, and the famed snowstorm of 2013, we couldn't get up this hill. Last night they were forecasting 5 inches. I'd be shocked if we even got 2 inches. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chantry, what'd you get at your house? Maybe an inch?
Yeah, but I think there's more like in Santa Clara. I think
we're at higher.
This morning got quite a bit.
We're at higher.
Santa Clara.
Yeah, we're at higher. I went up to the ledges last night at 8:30, 8 o'clock, maybe to take my kids some to a little get together, and it was like a full-scale winter, I mean, just a blizzard on the way up to the ledges. It was incredible. And there's this fog layer between here and the ledges.
Yeah.
So then you were going up, and then it was snowing, and you couldn't see, and it was wacky. So anyway, gang, look, clearly everyone knows it's snowing outside, and all of our friends on Facebook are going to make sure that we know that, are they not? Everyone's going to do that today. So we're going to have a fun discussion. I don't know what Jesse's got going on. He's over there. What do you got going on?
Your phone died.
What's that?
Your phone died.
My phone died? I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows? So we're running Facebook Live. We're going to talk today about what realtors and lenders actually get paid for. Is that fair?
That sounds good.
Chantry, Chantry's been with us for a really long time. How many years? A decade?
I remember working with you about when you were starting to take over all the foreclosures. So that was probably
2010.
2009 or 10?
Yeah, 2010.
I'm tangled with my coat here.
So there you go. Jesse, I don't know about this phone. So it's funny, guys, we were running a Facebook Live, and for whatever reason, it just died on us. I hope we're still live, but I think we're still going to get. We're good to go. We're good to go. So 2009, 2010, you came into our world, right? And since that time, have you ever been paid a salary to close mortgages?
I have not.
Right. Michelle, how long have you been in the real estate business?
Going on 10 years.
10 years. Have you ever been paid a salary to sell real estate?
Never.
No. So we only get paid, right, gang, when the deal closes. You know, fair. It's the only way to describe it, right? And so, you know, Michelle and I were in this discussion, I think yesterday, talking about just this dynamic that folks perceive. So this is the perception. So the perception is like, Michelle goes out and shows homes, and that's where she's doing the work. So like the real work she's doing is showing people homes. Like, find me a home, correct?
Right. It's all in the finding.
Yeah, it's in the finding. And the perception, of course, is that that's where it is. Like that's where the
value of
where
the
value
realtor is. Yeah, to open the door.
Is to open the door. And at the end of the day, let's all be frank with ourselves. At what hourly rate could we pay someone to open doors? Could we pay someone minimum wage?
We sure could.
Sure.
Yeah. What is minimum wage anymore?
$7.50 or something, right?
Yeah, $7.50 an hour. We could theoretically pay someone $7.50 an hour to open doors. And the issue is that for us in the real estate business, the real work, especially if you're buying a home, right, begins when, Michelle?
When it goes under contract.
Right. So, what do you mean by
Well,
under contract?
and putting it under contract too. So it's the negotiation of getting it under contract, and particularly in the last few years where it's been a seller's market. So you've really got to know your stuff to be able to win that contract for your buyer.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So the work for the real estate agent happens when when it goes into contract. And of course, what Michelle's saying is when we get into the negotiation for the contract, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the issue. That's the issue.
Yes.
You told me a cool story, and I'm going to have you chime in here momentarily. You bought a home here how long ago?
Yeah, back in '05.
Okay, and you were not even an agent at the time.
No, I
course.
was teaching out at Tuacahn High School, and I used Will Potter, who's now our competitor.
Yeah.
He was great. He did a good job.
Great guy in town.
We had 3 days to find a home. He blocked that out for us. We looked at 32 homes. I just want to say, so sorry, Will. I'm just going to apologize publicly for doing that to you. But
32 homes, that's 10 a day. I mean, that's a lot of homes.
oh my gosh, we ran the guy ragged. And ironically, we went back and bought the very first home that we saw. Anyway, yeah. So, and then I was teaching out at Tuacahn High School, and he called me and he said, hey, when is your lunch hour? I said, well, it's from, 12 to 1 or whatever it was. And he said, I need to come out and have you sign this addendum. And I said, oh, well, you don't have to do it then. You can do it later or whatever. I had no perception that we have legal confines, legal deadlines. And he said, no, I need to have you sign this by 5 o'clock. And I was like, wow, okay.
Hey, come on, you don't have to do that. It's fine.
Like, it's okay. I was trying to be so nice to the guy, not clueless. And what's funny is that I had bought 4 homes prior to that. So I think a lot of times agents think, oh, well, they've been around the block, they've bought a home or two before. And, granted, I was probably not as smart as most about it, but, you just kind of don't realize what is the process once it's under contract. And I think this is probably some of the pushback of millennials. They're like, well, I can find the house online.
Correct.
And we're all like, right.
Correct.
That's just getting us into the game.
And you probably will find it online, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no matter
Most
how many,
do.
how much somebody tells you.
95% likelihood, guys.
And no matter how much somebody tells you what they
95%
want,
likelihood.
they know what they want, right? No matter, they can't really relay it. So look online, that's just the beginning, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
That's the fun part.
when did you get into business?
2005.
Yeah.
Did they still have, that was probably right after they had the books. Remember the books?
The books were obviously previous to my time, but
Not by far though, right?
I don't think by far.
Probably late 90s, early 2000s.
What was the MLS called at that time? The multiple listing service. It was called. What was it? It was this weird.
I don't know.
This weird thing.
So those of you that don't know, you had, was it once a month? Once a month, the Board of Realtors would print out a book with a page for every single listing that was out there. So if there was 500 listings, there'd be 500 pages that had that property for sale.
Right.
And so because there wasn't an internet, so the buyers couldn't go find the home. So they really did need to sit down with an agent and flip through this book and try to figure all this out and which ones were sold and which ones weren't.
Right.
Now with the internet, you find a house on the internet.
Right.
So anyone can do that.
And the contract was so much less back then. So it really was. I mean, their perception
we had
was
5 more
correct.
pages of contract
It
paperwork.
really was finding the house. The weight was more on that, and much less with the contract. Now it's flipped. Now
Well,
it's
and let's understand how buyers. Let's hit that door. These guys are exceptionally loud down the hall, aren't they? Let's remember how a buyer finds a home, right? And so this is really good. If you're a home seller, I hope you're really listen really closely to this today. So what will happen is someone will put their home in the market, and they'll be like, if I can just broadcast this enough times, if I can just be in everybody's face long enough, we'll find a buyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do buyers in fact find the home they want to buy?
Almost always online.
But how? But when I say how does the buyer find a home? Do they go, hey, a realtor called me and said they have the home for me?
Oh, no, never. They're out on the home websites. They're out looking. They're searching themselves. They can do it online.
So wouldn't you say really the only accurate? There are others, we talk about Zillow and stuff, but only one that's truly live, real-time accurate is probably the multiple listing service that you have to
Right.
get by.
That's the primary source,
through a
that
real estate
feeds all those
Yeah,
websites.
so let's think about this. So Chantry, let's say that you wanna buy a home today. What kind of home would you wanna buy? Let's have some fun here.
If I were to buy a house.
If you were to buy a house today, what would it be?
Let's buy $1 million house in, Green Springs.
I love it. Okay, what would, okay, I love it. No, and what would be a couple of basic criteria that you?
Really nice swimming pool, maybe a game room in the basement,
Okay,
4 or 5 bedrooms, maybe a big casino. I don't know, we're dreaming, right?
okay, no, we're good. Okay, it's beautiful. So what you would do is where would you go to start looking?
Well, me knowing what I know, I would call a real estate friend, one of you guys, and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, set me up on a search.
Yeah, so two things that actually happen, right? Number one, you call an agent and say, set me up in search, tell me if you find anything. And then number two, you and your wife at 11 o'clock at night would be on a computer.
Michelle set me up.
Yeah, or on an app,
Yeah.
searching, and you'd be like, Zillow.com, show me every home that's 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 3,100 square feet or bigger, in the Green Springs area, I want a pool, it needs to be under $1 million. And here's what would happen. You would actually burn yourself out, looking, obsessing. You would obsess. Let me explain. This is really good. Jesse, just yell, am I accurate with how buyers search for homes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They will drive their agent crazy. Search, hey, I saw this new one. I saw this new one. Hey, did you see the new one? Hey, I saw the new one. You see the new one? Hey, what'd you do this weekend? Well, actually, we know that we were working with you, but we drove around and we went in 27 open houses because we figured that somehow what we wanted you weren't showing to us, but we couldn't find anything. And then we went to Craigslist, and then we went to KSL.com, and then we went to Zillow.com, and then we came back around. They will literally drive themselves sick, and they will get to this point of fatigue where they're like, I don't even think I can look at another home. So what I always remind sellers is that if your home is a great home, priced in a proper way, will buyers find it, yes or no?
Absolutely,
Instantaneous.
many times over.
Yeah, so here's what, this is the other thing sellers don't realize, is that the buyer that is overlooking your home probably overlooked it like 30 times. Here's why. They tried KSL, they saw it there. They went to Zillow, they saw it there. They figured maybe Realtor.com would have it, they saw it there. They're getting listings emailed to them from 5 different agents, because bless our heart, that's what we do, we're consumers. So we go around and we see 5 different real estate signs, we call all of them, and all the agents being agents, the way we are. Hey, Michelle, thanks for calling. Hey, how about we set you up on a home search? We'll send you all the new listings in the morning. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, yeah.
Sandy's smiling because it's exactly what we do. I'll just give you what you want and the time you want. Won't that be great? There's a real estate script.
Mhm.
They're giving listings from 5 to 10 agents based on their criteria. Are they seeing the home, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Wow. They've overlooked your home so many times, actually you'd be offended at how many times they looked at it and said, no. We've seen it, no.
Mhm.
Right? So we're having this interesting conversation here today about understanding the consumer's mindset, right?
Right.
And so the consumer's mindset is, number one, from the seller perspective, well, maybe there's someone out there who doesn't know about my home. Trust me, everyone knows about your home who's looking for a home, especially if you hired a good agent.
And you know, when they come in for a consultation and we pull up a list of homes that they're interested in, and I'll say, hey, I just want to make sure we've vetted the process. Have you seen this one, this one, this one? And not only have they usually seen it, but they've named it. Oh, yeah, the big tree home. Oh, yeah, the lion house, because there's a lion
They've
statue on it.
named
You know what I
every
mean?
home.
They're very familiar. They've seen it multiple times, on multiple occasions.
And this is my reminder I'd give to sellers. For people who are selling and trying to find a home, I want you to think about what you're doing. You're doing what I say what I'm saying the buyer for your home is doing. You know you've seen all the homes. So the buyers come in, you take them out, Michelle, and for $7.25 an hour, $7.50 an hour. No pay per hour, you show them homes. And the real work begins the day that you say, oh, we found a home.
Yeah, we want to make an offer. We don't want to let this one get away. So then we start the negotiation.
What kind of paperwork is required to buy a home right now, in the state of Utah?
Well, you've got the contract, 6-page contract,
Real estate purchase contract,
right?
a Rep C.
Yep. Then you've got a buyer-broker agreement so that we have
With
the
the
legal
broker.
right to represent you in the deal.
6 pages doesn't do it justice, there's no inch that's not used. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
20
it is a lot.
29 sections?
It's not like.
26
It's
sections?
not like, hey, let's just hand this to we've seen horror stories when people try not to use a realtor. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey, let's just take this contract and fill it out and turn it into a seller, like, there's so many things in that contract that if they don't know
Right.
exactly what they're doing, they're gonna miss out on something.
Yeah, so it's 6 pages, it's 26 sections.
Yeah.
26 seconds.
And for example, like what loan are you using? Well, you know, what loan are you using? That will determine an additional addendum that is required for that loan.
Okay.
You know, then there's the buyer due diligence checklist, that the state requires that, so that's something to warn the buyers, hey, here's a list of stuff to be sure that you're checking off, so that you make sure that you're making the right decision. That has to be included. So, and then the negotiations go back and forth, which will add addenda to the contract. It can get pretty,
Addenda.
yeah, do you like that?
You know, it's interesting. How about
Not
this?
addendum.
How about this? How about this? Section 8.4, additional earnest money deposit. If the rep C has not been previously canceled by the buyer as provided in sections 8.1, 8.2, or 8.3 as applicable, then no later than the due diligence deadline or the financing and appraisal deadline, whichever is later, buyer will or will not deposit an additional earnest money. The earnest money deposit, any additional earnest money deposit, if applicable, and sometimes referred to herein as the deposits, the earnest money deposit or deposits, if applicable, shall be credited toward the purchase price at closing. Did anyone hear anything I just said?
It's very attorney.
That's one
Yeah.
stupid paragraph
Legalese.
of 26 sections
Mhm.
of a contract, right?
And I know I shouldn't use this term, but I do tell them when they're working with Michelle or somebody that's really good like Michelle, that Michelle's your attorney. You can find the house. She has to let you in. There's a lot of things to it that she doesn't need to be involved there, but she's your attorney, really.
Yeah, it was funny because they signed a disclaimer that says we're not legal help, but that we're playing that.
Yeah.
How about this? And by the way, I've got Michelle Adams with the Larkin Group, with our team over at the Keller Williams Realty. I've got Chantry Abbott Guild Mortgage. So Chantry, your lender, what about if somebody submits a contract to you and has deadlines that say, like, there's a financing and appraisal deadline? You get to deal with that, right?
Yeah, we have to make sure we've got their loan approved and their appraisal reviewed and everything looks good. Otherwise, they're potentially risking their earnest money deposit, which, if you don't know, that is like a security deposit, and sometimes it can be really expensive. You know, we've seen $5,000-$10,000 can be in trouble if they're not having a real estate agent that's taking care of those deadlines.
How many pages in your typical loan contract to close a loan? I don't mean the contract with you, I mean the actual loan agreement with the bank. How many pages, typically?
Like a closing is probably roughly 30 pages.
30 pages. Has anyone ever read one of those? It's epic, right? It is epic, boilerplate.
Take your dictionary.
Legal speak, right? So Chantry, what if I turn in a contract to you that says, hey, listen, Michelle wrote an offer, the offer is contingent on an appraisal, it's contingent on due diligence for a home inspection. It's also contingent on the seller who is in San Francisco selling their home, and there's an addendum that says that they had just put their home on the market in San Francisco, and they have 21 days to sell the home, and if they don't sell the home in 21 days, then we can cancel the contract and come back. While that's at it, we have a 72-hour clause that will allow other buyers to come in, and the other buyers can make offers on the listing that Michelle wrote an offer on, and then they could kick the first buyer out of place. Do you see that stuff as a lender?
Yeah, quite often.
All of the time. When does the work begin, guys? The work begins at contract.
Very much so.
And so, if we're selling your home, by the way, the work, of course, begins when we start marketing your property. Of course, right? But we're really more, I mean, the day that we sign that listing agreement and we start saying, let's schedule photography and let's do what we do. But if you're buying a home, like the heavy-duty work, that's contract work.
And I think they don't realize that there's a second set of negotiations. So during that due diligence period, that's 10 days, 2 weeks roughly, that you have to get a home inspection done, and then there's a second set of negotiations, you know? Because a home is sold as is, but often sellers will defer maintenance and just feel like, well, the buyer can take care of that.
So you mean there's a negotiation to buy the house, and then there's another second negotiation once they've done an inspection?
Correct.
What if the appraisal comes in low, Chantry?
Another opportunity for a negotiation, right? So I guess that's a third.
What percentage, Chantry, of deals do you see have an appraisal come in low right now?
Oh, probably 95% of them are just fine. So maybe 1 out of 20 or something along those lines. There's an appraisal something. Sometimes it's not just value. Maybe it's the roof has an issue that needs to be fixed or things like that.
Guys, it is really snowing hard out there. I just want to interrupt this previously scheduled program. So, Michelle, Chantry, so happy that you're with us today. Let me share some statistics with some folks this morning. It's February 21st. we got a little bit of a slow start with the Larkin Group this year. Last year we had 173 buyers or sellers, families we helped. But we have 21 properties under contract representing a buyer or seller. We've closed 13. So all that paperwork we just talked about, 13 times we've closed it. We have 21 under contract. We've executed 31 contracts since January 1st, meaning we took a buyer out, went through all of that nonsense, negotiated a purchase price, negotiated a deal, went through the inspections, went through the appraisals, went through all of the headache. Chantry, does sometimes days before closing, a lender, like the underwriting lender come back and say that they need a pay stub from 2007 to prove that these people are actually real?
We sure try hard to avoid it, but
Right.
I mean, it's just one of those
Right.
things sometimes, right?
So we've put 31 contracts together like this, and 8 of them have fallen apart so far this year. So that's the number so far, is 8 of 31 have fallen apart. And why do contracts fall out, Michelle? Like, what would be the reasons? Why do deals fall apart?
They can't qualify for the loan is a big one, They change their mind is another one. Something happens during the home inspection, and if the seller isn't willing to credit or repair that issue,
Yeah.
then they're like, we're out. So that's another thing.
You mean they get scared, they get nervous, they don't like the
Yeah.
neighborhood, they don't like the church, parish, whatever they went to. They found 5 broken roof tiles, and maybe that they're concerned that and the list is on and on, right?
It does.
Appraisal comes along.
Their home doesn't sell, it was contingent.
Yeah, they have to sell their home.
Their
It was a-
contract fell through back in San
Yeah.
Francisco or whatever it could
Yeah,
be.
it was a domino chain.
Mhm.
Chantry, as we wrap up, we're at final minute. Most important message you feel like buyers and sellers need from a lending perspective today?
Yeah, I just think that I've preached about this a bunch of times, but interest rates, we all know at some point are gonna be going up, right? They went up about 1% in 2018, they went up about 1% in 2017.
Yeah. By the way, that cost people 20% of their purchasing power.
And that's what I was gonna tie into, perfect.
Oops.
If that goes up, no, it's great, if
Okay.
that goes up 1% again in 2019, which it probably will, most likely, who knows, but probably, that impacts their purchasing power or their monthly payment by 10%, which means home prices would have to change by 10%, or they'd have to buy a 10% less home. And so, I know the price of the house matters. I bought a place in 2007, I still have a ton of
Worst
equity.
possible time to buy a house.
A ton of equity, because it doesn't matter that much unless you're gonna sell it next year.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Buy and hold.
thank you for being on here with us
Thank
today.
you.
And for bringing your expertise and talking about, what realtors, I was about to say real estate agents and mortgage professionals, mortgage lenders, we get paid to produce an outcome, right? At the end of the day, we don't get paid for the hours we work, because
No.
sometimes we work 100 hours and sometimes we work 7 on the same deal, right?
Right.
We get paid to produce an outcome. We get paid to walk somebody through the most complicated and emotional process of their life. And that might include needing to reduce their price if they're selling the home, all sorts of
I
things.
think we protect them through that process, right? That's what we
Bingo,
do.
Right.
bingo. Guys, I want you to visit stgeorgehomesearching.com. stgeorgehomesearching.com. And, because we're talking about the MLS, if you want to look at every single house that's on the multiple listing service right now, stgeorgehomesearching.com. You can click on the link there to find out what your home's worth, and check it out. Thanks, Chantry Abbott, Guild Mortgage, 674-1090 if you want to speak with them, 674-1090. If you want to reach out to us, 275-1690. Sold in stgeorge.com. There you go.
Boom.
End of story.